Hey everyone, welcome back to the Michael Lofton Show on Reason and Theology. You know, pretty often we talk about very intense things here on the show, some things that could be pretty stressful, and causes some concerns. And hey, I totally get that. But what I want to do with this episode is maybe bring a smile to your face and a little bit of levity with some news that I just came across that I admit when I saw the picture of this, I had to just kind of laugh. Um, but I want to weigh in on it in addition to showing you what the Vatican is doing. The Vatican, as you can see, according to the title, has installed a listening kiosk into St. Peter's Basilica. This is part of the um, aspect of synodality of the church, where the church listens to what people have to say, and takes into account their advice. And so I guess this is one of the ways to introduce that, at the very least for tourists at St. Peter's Basilica. Let me go ahead and share my screen and show you this kiosk. And by the way, go ahead and hit that subscribe button while I'm pulling it up right now. So you can see it right here on the screen. Here is the listening kiosk. So this is in St. Peter's Basilica, very familiar place. I'm trying to think of which altar this is. But in fact, I was just there recently. I don't recall specifically which altar this is, but you can clearly see it's St. Peter's Basilica. One second. So this is, I guess, one among several kiosks that they have in St. Peter's Basilica. It says here, listening space, good old synodal language, right? Accompaniment, journeying with, listening, encounter. So, so evidently here you could go into St. Peter's Basilica and maybe express some of your concerns with what's going on, or maybe in your own life, if you have something going on in your own life, you could talk to a priest in the kiosk and kind of tell them what you're going through, or you can talk to them about feedback that you have with things that are going on in the church, which, I don't know, seems pretty opportune, right? I mean, it seems like there's a whole lot that could be said, right? Maybe you can go and express your concerns about pride masses, or express your concerns about some of the stuff that we see with, maybe the Latin Mass and other news items that we've talked about recently. If you have a concern, maybe you can book a trip to Rome and go to St. Peter's Basilica. And while you're there, drop in and talk to Old Father here and tell him what what some of your feedback is. Maybe this is going to come to the parish level. Who knows? Maybe they'll start installing these in every cathedral at the very least. So let's take a look at an article that talks a little bit about this and gives us a little bit more information. St. Peter's Basilica launches a welcoming space for worshipers and tourists to share thoughts with priests, nuns, or lay listeners. St. Peter's Basilica has inaugurated the new space for both worshipers and visitors. Located within the Basilica, the initiative provides an open area where individuals can pause and speak freely with priests, nuns, or trained lay people, offering pastoral support. The Holy Door opened in its time, inspired us to open another door in St. Peter's Basilica and create a space for listening. Good old synodal language, right? Create a space for listening. They literally created a space for listening. Somebody said hashtag listening church in the comment section. It's an open space, an opportunity for encounter. There goes that language every time, right? Every single time. It's always the same language. Accompany with, journey with, dialogue with, listening space, encounter. What are some more? Y'all tell me in the chat. Give me some more. There's some more synodal language that we tend to hear. These terms always thrown around. I'm trying to think of some more Vaticanese because it tends to be really prevalent only in the Vatican and pretty much nowhere else. Um, y'all put some more examples of it there in the chat. Let's see if y'all can think of any others. So it's an open space, an opportunity for encounter, a place where one brother, a priest, a nun, a layperson listens to another brother in humanity, he added. Monsignor Pepe clarified that the listening space complements rather than replaces the confessional. Okay, well that's good to hear. Okay, I appreciate that clarity, right? Because that was going to be a concern, right? That some people might attempt to use this in that way to kind of replace confession. A lot of times in confession, people will not just confess their sins, but they'll use it as an opportunity for dialogue and a listening space session, right? And will get things off their chest, which I'm sure probably annoys and frustrates a lot of priests and the people who are waiting in the confession line for those rare places that actually have confession lines these days. Be that as it may, I was a little concerned about that. So I appreciate him saying that. It doesn't replace confessional, but it serves as a moment of inner reflection, allowing people to voice thoughts and concerns without sacramental formality. Okay, well, there's the key. And you know what? As goofy as this kind of might sound, you know what? I'm kind of on board with it. And that's why, right there. So you get to express your concerns. Okay. All right. May take you up on that one. I got a lot of them. I imagine you do too. Okay, here's an opportunity to express some of those concerns, not in an abusive way, not in a disrespectful way, but in a calm, professional, constructive, and respectful way. You can express some of your concerns with what you see going on in the church. And hey, you know what? That's part of the synodal process, right? Listening to other people. Okay. Well, hey, here it is. Here's your opportunity. You see one of these nearby, go and use it. The person listening does not replace the confessor who administers the sacrament of reconciliation. It is simply a pause that allows one to speak and confront one's own thoughts with someone willing to listen, which can be a good thing, especially with people who maybe they don't have a lot of friends or a lot of family members that they can talk to. Okay, I can see them benefiting from this. So on the one hand, when I initially saw it, I just kind of laughed. On the other hand, okay, I can actually see a real need for this. The prelate emphasized the space's role in easing emotional burdens. The purpose is to help free the heart from the burden, the pain, and the doubts that life entails. The initiative extends beyond the faithful to cultural and tourist visitors. For those who come as tourists in search of beauty, the space can be a unique opportunity. Now, I do have to say, if they're coming there for beauty, I don't know. Okay, I'm just saying that might be an eyesore. I personally, I think it's an eyesore and it ruins the beauty and the aesthetic. That's my personal opinion. You might disagree and say, Michael, it's just a regular white plain booth. Well, maybe that's the issue, right? Maybe that's why it's such an eyesore compared to everything else that we see there in the background, right? So I don't know. When I see that, I don't think beauty. But that's just my personal opinion. Okay, maybe you look at that and you think this is marvelous. This is like the Pieta. Okay. The initiative extends beyond the faithful to cultural and tourist visitors. Somebody said I thought it was a soda machine. That or a porta potty. I hate to say it, but I think I could see a porta potty like this, right? I could see a bathroom. Oh goodness. Stop. Okay. All right. What else does it say? Okay. For those who come as tourists in search of beauty, this space can be a unique opportunity. An invitation to ask themselves meaningful questions about life and God. Okay. I can see it. I can see that. There might be somebody there who's asking questions about God and all that, and they end up, getting some answers to the questions here. Okay, I can see it. He expressed hope that brief encounters might spark lasting spiritual interest. The seed of the gospel sown in people's heart will bear fruit in due time, and if they awaken a holy concern, people will be able to continue that dialogue in their city or country by contacting their local church. I can see it. I can see it. I'm not knocking it. I think there is uh, room for it. I think there's space, pun intended, for this, right? And I don't at all oppose the opportunity to offer some maybe constructive criticism to express one's concerns about the state of affairs in the church, the direction that the Pope and the bishops are sometimes taking. I think this is an opportunity where a lot of laity who are frustrated with what's going on can, in a constructive and respectful way, express those concerns to whoever's in that kiosk. And who knows, maybe the people who are having those experiences will report that feedback up the chain of command, and through a synodal process might get back to the Pope. You never know. Worth a shot, right? So if you go to St. Peter's Basilica or you go somewhere else and you see one of these, my recommendation is take advantage of it. Offer some feedback. Again, do so in a respectful way. Don't be obnoxious. Don't be disrespectful. Go in there, say, hey, look, I'm really struggling with some of the things that I'm seeing going on here. And I'm really concerned that this doesn't match up with the Bible. This doesn't match up with what the church teaches. And, I want to offer some feedback because it's causing me to really be concerned. And, I could see that being beneficial for the person on the receiving end to hear that and hear that kind of feedback, because in my estimation, I think the people who need to hear the feedback aren't in tune with the people on the ground level. They're just not. And maybe this will be an opportunity for them to be. So far, I don't know. Maybe there's only one of these in St. Peter's Basilica. So again, you may have to book a ticket to Rome. But who knows? Maybe you can ask for your local diocese or cathedral to have one, but maybe they can put on top of it, instead of just the iconoclastic, white backdrop, they can maybe put, a picture of the Pieta, or a scene from the Sistine Chapel on it, right? And that way it kind of blends in with the surroundings, right? I mean, if you had the painting that's in the Sistine Chapel, where Jesus is handing to Peter the keys of the kingdom, you know what I'm talking about, right? The famous papacy one. Maybe if you put that on the kiosk, I think it would totally blend in with St. Peter's Basilica, right? It would fit. It would make sense. But I don't know about the white thing. When I saw this, I just thought, I don't know. But anyways, those are my thoughts on it. Here we go. Here's a comment. # journey to the Basilica for dialogue and accompaniment along the synodal path. Encounter listening while a versus popula mass takes place at an ancient church, which is entirely synodal. Yeah. There's this language that we tend to see used in the Vatican, especially, and or Episcopal conferences. And it's like, where do y'all get this stuff from? Because people don't normally talk that way. You notice that? Like, nobody actually uses that kind of language. Where did they get that from? I want to accompany you and journey with you in a path of synodal dialogue and listening. What? No one talks like that. Where are you getting this from? It's like, do they take a course? Does the Vatican have a class where they say, okay, hey, all right, you're going to start working here. Okay. Maybe you're going to sweep the floors at St. Peter's, but you got to take this mandatory class, or we're going to teach you how to speak. We're going to accompany you and help you and dialogue with you so that you have this language down. And I don't know, have you ever noticed that bishops, Episcopal conferences, the Pope, everything, they always have that, I guess, unique way of speaking that doesn't really seem reflective of the way the vast majority of people talk. And I kind of wonder where it's coming from. And personally, I feel it's out of touch with everyone and it doesn't come across in a way that's very effective. Again, my personal opinion. Maybe I'm just being too nitpicky, but maybe y'all agree. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Okay, here's a quick video from September where they were talking about this. They didn't have the kiosk yet, all right, but they were talking about listening rooms opening up in the Vatican for visitors. And evidently, they just kind of had like some chairs at the time, but now they have their little kiosk box there, right? So let's watch this one together. This is Rome Reports. Somebody said there's no sound. Thank you so much for the feedback. Let me uh, initiate that once more, and let's dive in.
A rather uncommon initiative has been inaugurated in the Vatican for a listening room to be built inside St. Peter's Basilica. The goal is to offer a space where pilgrims, tourists, and even people far from faith can express their doubts, concerns, and spiritual questions. This is how the Secretary of the Fabric of St. Peter, Monsignor Orazio Pepe, explained it in an interview with the media from the Basilica.
È un luogo dove le persone possono
It's a
recarsi
place where people can come to be heard. There's a religious brother or a religious sister, and the people generally come to express what they carry inside. It's open to everyone, pilgrims, people of other religions, even those who no longer believe or are struggling in their life of faith. Monsignor Orazio also admits that it's a place with a special kind of magic, a unique service that focuses solely on listening to those who enter, often stirring up deep emotions and even a few tears.
tante persone oggi hanno la difficoltà
Many people struggle to be heard, to feel accepted, because we're all a bit rushed and don't take time for others. So this listening point will be dedicated to those who wish to be listened to. This is not a confessional, but rather a different kind of service. It's open to non-Catholics or those who no longer practice their faith. The project is part of the Catholic Church's Holy Year, and it aims to be a sign of openness and closeness.
You know what I just thought of though? This might actually expedite the confession line, right? Because instead of them going in and doing their confession and getting off their chest whatever they do, because that's what I suspect is happening, because I don't understand why the person in front of me might take half an hour in the confessional. I like, what? I don't understand what that is, but there has to be a lot of chit chat going on, right? There has to be a lot of I'm concerned about this going on in my life. Okay, and that's fine. But there's a time and a place for that. Okay, maybe not confession. Maybe meet up with Father after the time for confession, right? And maybe people will have an opportunity to kind of get those things off their chest in these listening boxes. And then if they need to go to confession, they could just limit themselves to their actual confession when they go to confession. And then if they want to chit chat, then they got this other deal, right? I mean, it's a win-win. It's a win-win, right? And again, you get to express your concerns about, hey, what's going on over here with this and that. And I just read this document. I just came across this weird thing here. Can you explain that to me? Maybe you can get some answers. Who knows? Anyways, I had to bring this to y'all's attention because I thought it would bring a smile to your face, and something we desperately need whenever we're constantly bombarded with some pretty weighty, heavy, serious stuff that far from brings a smile to our face, makes us concerned. So if you appreciate this video, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button so more people will see it and also get a smile on their face and their day will be made. We'll see you later. God bless.